2023 sets up to be, sets up pretty nicely from my perspective.
You're listening to the BulkLoads podcast, your number one resource for everything bulk freight trucking. And this is episode 244.
Hey guys, Jared Flynn with the BulkLoads podcast. Got Tyler with me.
What's going on?
Oh, it's March.
Yep. It's actually the agriculture month.
It is.
Yep.
What is it? National Agriculture Month?
Yep. The whole month of March. So we'll be doing some pretty cool stuff on social media and really trying to recognize our guys in this industry.
Yeah. Well, first off, thank you to our farmers out there, but even truckers, anyone in the agriculture supply chain.
Yep. We
say this every year and all the time, but man, we're so blessed to be a part of this industry and so thankful for those people that are out there. We are it's like the salt and earth, or however that saying is, salt of the earth type people, which makes it pretty cool to deal with that on a day-to-day basis.
Jared, you picked a perfect time to bring on Lance. He's a fellow agriculture guy for this podcast.
Yeah, perfect segue in. Yeah, today I'm going to bring on Lance Albin. He is with UMB. He is basically their ag guy. He's the one that looks at their ag markets. He's a commercial lender for the ag people. But before we go into that, man, we know this interest rates continue to increase.
Yep.
And I'm sure you out there as a small business keep seeing that, whether you're getting a loan for equipment or just your credit line and all that. If you've never thought about factoring, check out Smart Freight Funding. And I'm not here to sell it to you, but interest rates have gone up, but our rates have stayed the same.
Yep.
And there's not a lot of other companies out there that can say that. But man, if you are out there trucking and cash flow has gotten tight or interest rates have gone up in other areas, give us a call. You can talk to Dalton or Jackson here at our office. Man, they will show you our process. And I mean, we are onboarding a lot of people, I think, for that exact reason.
Yep.
Some of these companies that they've worked for years, like they keep jacking up rates on them, and we're staying the same. And people have even asked us, they're like, well, you should be doing that. I'm like, no, we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
Or at least I should say is until we have to. But
right.
Like, hey, if we got to squeeze margins, we got to squeeze margins. So I say this to you as the owner operator out there, small business user, man, if cash flow is tight and we can help, give us a call. Smart Freight Funding. You call here in BulkLoads, we'll direct you over there. Tyler will also put the phone number in the episode notes. But yeah, give those guys a shout. You will not be disappointed. We're not going to sell you anything. We're not going to make you sign a contract. We're going to serve you just like you deserve.
Yep. Exactly.
So cool. Well, I'm not going to give away a lot of what we talked about till after the show with Lance, but I think you're going to enjoy this, especially if you're in agriculture and like ag talk. This is going to be one for you. So with that said, here's my conversation with Lance Albin of UMB. Hey, Lance, thanks for coming on.
Hi, Jared. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to speak with you today.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, appreciate the time. We love having these shows specifically because we know it brings so much value to our customers. We deal with thousands of business owners that listen to this podcast that are members on the BulkLoads board. So, man, we try to really find all facets of business, and kind of we've had some mutual connections that put us together. And that's what we're really going to cover on this. We're going to talk about, kind of the financial side. But you're an ag guy as well, and I think that's what makes it super exciting as well. We have had other banking institutions on in the past, which has been really good, but we haven't had one that really combines with agriculture. So I'm super excited, Lance, to have you on in that regards. Before we start going into this, man, I want you to build credibility on your side. Let's talk about your background. You're a Kansas boy, Western Kansas. So yeah, let's start there.
Correct. I'm a Kansas farm kid, fourth generation on a Kansas wheat, corn, milo farm in western Kansas. So I grew up in agriculture, and runs deep in my family's heritage, and an honor to share that heritage with just what I believe are some of the finest people on earth. And that's one of the things that it's always drawn me to agriculture, and kind of whatever I've done, I've always there's always been that love for agriculture and America's farmers and their families. And so it's deep in my family's heritage and grew up doing it. So it's been an honor to work in ag lending for a number of years. And I would often joke with folks, that if they need a combine or tractor moved, I would know how to do that. They rarely have ever taken me up on that. But it's a wonderful group of folks to get to work with, and a wonderful way to grow up. And I really believe some of the finest people in our country are in agriculture, and I would argue that strenuously with anyone. But it's a great industry, and I did grow up in Kansas, so we don't always get the rainfall, but when we do, we have really good soil and produce excellent crops and grow excellent livestock, and they're just surrounded with agriculture here in the great state of Kansas. So
most of our listeners know that I'm a fellow ag guy. I grew up on a farm in eastern Missouri, and actually wanted nothing to do with agriculture growing up. I mean, it was hard work. But man, my passion led me back to it full circle. And most people know the story. I won't go. I want to get more on your subject, but I love how you said that. It's like, but it's such a fine group of people. My wife always tells me especially I go to ag conferences, she's always like, "You're with your people, aren't you?" I'm like, "Yep, I'm with my people." So, we're one and the same when it comes to that, Lance. Let's talk about the landscape, especially when we're looking at agriculture today, specifically kind of out with what you're doing. A lot has happened really over the past 3 to 4 years. But can you kind of paint a picture high level, like what has happened, especially when it's come to lending on the agriculture side?
You bet. So we back up, 3-4 years ago, 2019, 2020, we were still in a period of persistently lower grain prices. We had seen, and really the commodity basket as a whole had not seen really strong prices, 2016 through 2020. So, we go back to that period, and we had lower interest rates, which I know is a topic for everyone today and a top of mind for folks. But the commodity prices were depressed, and it was a fairly difficult operating environment for those in production agriculture. Fast forward to today, the interest rates have moved up significantly, the largest move we've seen in many decades. But the commodity prices are very strong. We see grain prices strong, cattle prices starting to move now. The commodity basket as a whole has moved up significantly. So if you just go from point in time to point in time from 4 years ago till today, I would contend that it's a much stronger ag environment overall. Certainly land prices have moved up significantly, largest asset for most family farms by a wide stretch. So that's been very helpful, put a lot of equity on the balance sheet. So there's always issues, and if you weren't tough as nails and willing to fight through difficult issues, you wouldn't have made it this far in agriculture. So folks get that and understand that. The optimist persists and lives to farm another year. And 2023 sets up to be pretty nicely from my perspective. If the production and bushels are there, then it looks to be, it could be a pretty decent year. We still have some high inputs, not as high as last year. Money costs more to borrow than it did a year ago, but other than that, there's reasons for some real optimism.
You mentioned these high interest rates, and all of us are feeling that. And you mentioned, we haven't seen this in decades. I mean, if you go back and look at where we had these high of interest rates, specifically, late 70s, early 80s, what does that history show you? I mean, does it show any trends that we might be seeing in today, specifically in the grain market?
Yeah. So, you really go back to that infamous period, I'll call it, in the late 70s through the early 80s, where we saw interest rates that would make today's rates seem very tame or moderate. There was an inflation problem that was very difficult to get under control. It took Volcker and that Federal Reserve acting very forcefully to subdue inflation. We don't know yet what it will take to combat this round of inflation, but we have seen headline inflation, of course, CPI start to moderate, and so that's been encouraging. The Federal Reserve statements out this afternoon. I haven't had a chance to parse that. It's always helpful. They give you, kind of what changed as opposed to the last statement. But we a moderate increase today. Probably get one more, seems to be the consensus, and then it probably becomes data dependent from there. And I think that's a good approach. The higher rates do seem to be helping moderate inflation, but the last GDP reading was strong, and so that could point to a bit of a strong environment where inflation can come down without crippling the growth of the economy, which of course would be ideal for everybody. That would be the perfect way to set that up. But we don't know yet. But the signs so far point to these higher rates helping tame inflation. Of course, that's what we'd all like to see.
So if we're looking out, especially with, I think, customers that you may deal with on the ag side, and we're not just talking about grain elevators and co-ops, but even farm machinery companies. I mean, anything that's touching agriculture, fertilizer. Do you see these businesses? Is there things that are going to change the way business is done per se, or decisions that are made based on just interest rates being higher than they've ever been?
I think it has to matter. The degree to which it matters is probably very case dependent. So, one thing I'd point out, high level, and this is true whether you're in production agriculture or you're running an agricultural based middle market business, but working capital becomes very critical, and working capital is always important. But if you think about inflation driving, all asset prices higher, and interest rates then making money to borrow more expensive, you quickly see that, a working capital level at X a year or 2 years ago certainly needs to be X, plus a significant amount to kind of carry the business through the same cycles that it had in those years. So working capital becomes important, and that probably, the wise manager probably looks at that and says, I want to hold X in working capital. And so if I'm looking at a decision, to expand or to acquire a new business or to expand in a different product line, that will need to be part of the calculus. So it's not that you would just immediately say, we're going to slow things down. If you can figure in your cost of capital and it still makes sense to do that expansion in your business or take on that additional farm, then by all means do it. But doing that thorough analysis and really considering that cost of capital at the higher level will be crucial in making that decision. Interest expense, from 2009 to 2021 was, I don't want to say it was an afterthought, but it just did not figure into your P&L like it will now, of course. So it just becomes a bigger factor, but I don't think it should necessarily hinder you from making choices that will help you grow your business.
Hey guys, Jared Flynn here. You've heard us talk about in our intros and outros, but we will be at the Mid-America Truck Show March 30th through April 1st. We would love to see you there. We know that this is one of the best spots for us to meet so many of you all in one setting. I know a lot of you are all across the country and come to this event. So yeah, if you are planning to attend the Mid-America Truck Show on March 30th through April 1st, please come see us. We are in the West Wing. You can look up on the app, or I'm sure they'll have signage on that. But yeah, Mid-America Truck Show, BulkLoads, Bulk Insurance Group, and Smart Freight, we will all be there, and we hope to see you there. Lance, I want to turn and talk a little bit more about banking and specifically UMB. My wife and I, we've been banking with UMB since we lived in Kansas City and worked at Bartlett Grain. There was a UMB branch there, and we've been loyal fans ever since. But I want to talk about the bank in general. You guys have a pretty big ag presence, which honestly I didn't realize in the past. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'd love to. And first, thank you for your business. We're honored to have you as a customer, and we love that you got to know us in Kansas City, which is home base for us. That's where the bank was originally founded and it's headquartered. And we're going to turn 110 years old this year, so we're super excited for that. And in all those many decades, we have been involved in agriculture. If you're a Kansas City headquartered bank, many decades ago, agriculture was all around you, and some of the great stories in agriculture in the Midwest, happened in and around Kansas City. So UMB was honored and thrilled to be a part of many of those stories, and it's been a part of our heritage and at the core of our bank. Today and for several years now on the ABA's list of top production ag lenders. We've been in the top 25 on that list for quite a good spell here. So it is something that's very important to our bank, and is something we love to do. And again, it's about that relationship. I mentioned early on as we visited about the quality of people that we find in the industry. Handshake still means a great deal. Your word is your bond. Extremely high integrity within the group of folks that we're honored to work with in agriculture. So yeah, it's something that we love to do. We do a number of different things within the umbrella of agriculture. Of course, we work with many production farm families and ranches, and love that. We also work with equipment manufacturers, custom applicators, folks who are providing seed and chemical and fertilizer to the farms. We also work with folks who process food. They take it from the farm gate and process it further through the food supply chain. So it's really a diverse group of customers, both in terms of what they do, as I just mentioned, and then geographically, we go from several different parts of Illinois, come across the Midwestern part of the country, of course, and then go quite a ways out west and do some specialized things there. So not only a diverse group in terms of what folks are doing and what their ag business looks like, but also a diverse geographically. So that's lots of fun to just see the diversity of American agriculture, and again, meet just excellent, wonderful people throughout.
Yeah, my wife and I, we were blessed last fall. We got invited on a trip from UMB and really got to meet more of your team and learn just more how the business is structured. And I'm not saying this just because you're on the podcast. I was astounded. I was like, wow, this is different than I thought banking actually worked. And I mean that as a compliment. You mentioned, the value of relationships. I think people can speak that and say that, but it's a whole nother level when you actually see it and understand it. And I think understand it from times when you do need the bank. I think, and I'm speaking for myself, there's been, over the years, it's, people have probably not had to rely on the banks as the banks trying to go after the business. But I think it's kind of changed, the landscape of how business is done and interest rates and things like that. But I have to say, I've been like overly the top impressed just the way that you guys structure things a little bit different, at least how I've noticed than any other bank that's out there.
Well, again, really appreciate your kind words, and we promise a lot to our customers. There's a foundational item in our culture called what we call TOOS, the unparalleled customer experience, and we really try. I mean, we try our darndest every day to make that happen, to provide a level of customer service and care about our customers that's really unmatched within the industry. That's what our goal is. We try awful hard to come through on that for our customers, and we really do that around three words: being nimble, moving quickly, being flexible. Not just looking at everything like it needs to be a certain way or fit in an exact box, but being flexible to meet the specific needs of our customer, because business is diverse. It's especially diverse in agriculture, so we need to know folks and know what their aspirations are and what they're hoping we can do for them, so we can be flexible and tailor something specific to their needs and their business. And then the last word, being responsive. That's another thing that's just foundational to our culture, that folks know that they matter to us, and that if we can't we can't get back to them or take their call at that exact moment, that we'll do it as soon as possible. And so those are three ways we try to differentiate ourselves, because we understand that money's fungible, that, we have lots of competitors, and we just want to do our very best to come through on those three promises and really deliver the unparalleled customer experience.
Yeah. I mentioned earlier, usually it's, and I could get this wrong, sometimes it's more the bank prospecting the client versus the client prospecting the bank. But for listeners on this, and we represent a lot of companies, small, mid, even large size companies, could you guys, just on a high level, and I don't want to put it all in one box, but how does that process work? Getting, wanting to get a relationship with the bank or learning more about the bank and seeing what that bank offers. I mean, I can speak kind of the experience that I've had, but I'd love for you to say it, and maybe I'll kind of add kind of how mine has been similar or maybe different.
Absolutely. So we do knock on doors. We do call folks to, from time to time to see if we could visit with them, to see if there's anything we could help them out on. But we also, a lot of times, as it is so often in business, there's word of mouth, networking and making connections. And so we'd love to meet with folks if they would have an interest in UMB Bank and our agricultural division and what we might be able to offer them. So they could always reach out to me directly, either through email, which is lance.albin@umb.com, or on LinkedIn. And we believe in coming to you and sitting down in your office or at your kitchen table and just learning about you. And when we do that, there tends to be good things come from that as we get to know folks and they get to know us. Sometimes we sit down with folks and we're the great big bank at 40 billion or so in assets, and other times we sit down with folks and they're working with a really large institution and we don't seem so big. So we have that experience happen, and we walk away thinking, well, we must be just the right size, because we're kind of in the middle. But we love to build relationships. There's lots of folks it takes time to get to know each other, and there's folks who, we start off with a small piece of business, and they can see how we carry out our responsibilities on that, how we serve them, and then perhaps that leads to something else. So we love to begin relationships, get to know folks, and see where that might take us.
And I don't want to put these words in your mouth, but UMB, you all are more focused more on the commercial side. Am I right in saying that? Because I just know here in Springfield market, there's banks here, but it seems like the commercial is kind of more the focus than, I guess, consumer, if I'm saying that right.
Yeah. And it's, for us, it's, we're trying to build relationships in nearly every element and environment that we can. So whether it's consumer checking accounts, home mortgages, all the way up through, as you mentioned, the commercial relationships, we're wanting to grow in all those things. So there's we're open for business, and in any way, in every way we can, we'd love to grow and expand our client base.
That's awesome. Well, Lance, hey, thank you so much for taking the time to jump on this. I know we just kind of covered things kind of on a high level, but I've, again, become a raving fan of your bank. One of my good friend now, Justin Butler, he's president down here in this market, but I think I've become good friends with him, but just him even telling me more about the bank. And for him, he doesn't speak of it just because he works there. Like, he really believes in the mission and the culture of the bank. And I've got to experience that myself. And yeah, so I just want to say, hey, thank you for what you guys are doing out there. You guys, I think, have a great organization. And for me, I'm sitting like wanting not only a customer, but wanting to learn how you all do that, just to incorporate into my business itself.
Well, it's an amazing organization. And if I could just say one thing about UMB is that I found to be completely unique and I think totally awesome, is that people truly do come first.
Yep.
That people matter, and doing right by folks is deeply ingrained in our culture. And Justin is an awesome guy who lives and breathes and lives that out every day. And so I'm super glad to know that that you guys are working together, and yeah, you're in great hands with him, and you live in an awesome part of the world. I love to come down to that part of the world, and we're just honored to have you as customer, and really appreciate the time. It's wonderful to visit with you today.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hopefully we can make that happen, and we can meet face to face sooner than later. So, hey, Lance, thanks again for coming on. And for those listening, we're going to put Lance's contact information in the show notes again. So if you want, you can drop down there. If you want to send him an email and reach out to him directly, I'm confident he'll be very responsive on doing that. So again, Lance, thanks again for coming on.
Thank you, Jared. I appreciate it.
Tyler, I liked how Lance said that he's predicting a stronger ag market here for 2023.
Yeah,
which is reassuring.
Yeah, listening to him kind of gave peace of mind. And he even said, even with the interest rates the way they are, if you can do it and it makes sense, he still recommends to still grow your business during this time.
Yeah. We use UMB here at BulkLoads, and I'm not saying this just to give them a plug, but I have been overly impressed with the process dealing with them. And in my career, I've dealt with several different banks, but they have figured out a way to really kind of streamline it and focus around you. They're a big bank, but they don't act like a big bank. It's not like this big brick and mortar, fancy. For me, it's like, they really assemble a team around you that you work directly with those people. And it's really pretty cool. And I just want to say, like, I love how I can just send a text or call or email and boom, I'm getting answers. And it just seems like, man, it's not the way. I guess these other banks kind of make me nervous, dealing with them. It's like there's all these layers and trying to get things done. And I've just been super impressed with the UMB team, how they have served us. And I wanted to kind of just highlight that if you're out there and looking for, and they consider it a partner in, financing and resources, make sure and look them up. Tyler, I'm sure you'll drop their contact information in the episode notes. But yeah, you won't be disappointed. Phenomenal, fantastic people at that company.
Yeah, and I think we have some similar mottos. As Lance said, is they're in the business of people serving people.
Yep.
And I think we bond really well over that with them. I like the part where he even went into talking about just agriculture people in the industry, and talking about handshake is your word.
Yeah.
I immediately thought of you and Matt.
Yeah.
A lot of people may not know this, but you guys actually started this business over a handshake. No contracts involved, which is really cool.
Yeah, it was a leap of faith that we just said, hey, how are we going to do this? And we said, hey, our word's as good as our handshake, and that there was a lot of trust in that. And that's kind of how we've built BulkLoads over just our users and customers having trust in us that we're going to serve them to the best of our knowledge, and hopefully make them successful.
Yep.
So no, I appreciate you bringing that up. Just a couple of things to segue out. The Mid-America Truck Show, we've been talking about that. It is on the horizon. It's going to be here, just in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
So if you are planning to go, we still have free tickets, right? And I think you told me earlier, if you go to their link, you have to pay, and you'll definitely have to pay if you go there the week of. But right now, you can still get free tickets through us, right? How do they do that?
Yeah, so right now, if you go to the Mid-America Truck Show actual website, they are charging. But if you use the BulkLoads link and promo code, you can get free tickets. We've sent out emails to guys. If you should have got that email. If you did, you can click the link there. You can go to our forum. It's titled Matt's. Click that. There's a link there, or you can simply go to our Facebook page, and we posted it there. But yeah, we'd love to see you. I think we got, well over 200 and something people that have told us, letting us know that they're coming. So we plan to visit with them. Also, we have people signing up to record podcasts with us. We'll be taking the podcast booth, and so we plan on recording a couple shows, and we'd love to have you on.
We're even going to have a little truck driving contest, aren't we?
We are.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to do that, to win some pretty cool gear. Yeah, I'll say this about Matt's. Last year was my first year attending, and I think number one, I will definitely be wearing more comfortable shoes.
Yeah.
You're walking on concrete the whole day, and miles of concrete. And I think that was the only thing, man. My shoes, my feet were worn out by the end of the day, or just standing at the booth all day. And it is just, man, there's just like, it's so action packed. There's never any downtime there.
Yeah. Exciting.
So we're pretty cool. So awesome. Lastly, before we segue out of here, man, we know the industry is tough right now. You don't have to look very far to see that, man, the loads have gone down. We're also in a slow season. We know that usually kind of late Feb, March are slower seasons, so we see a downtick, but we also know that the industry's kind of maybe pushed it down before. Hey, we're here to help you all. We're here to find solutions, really find you the loads that you connect. We've had a lot of people mention things on our forum, and we just want you to know we are working through those, and we don't take those things. We actually read every one of those, and we take them very serious on how we can help that, because we know if somebody's voicing a concern, there's other concerns out there on how we can make the site better for them, make it work better for them. We also know that the industry is very challenging right now, and we are doing everything we can to work through this time. We know this, in my career, Tyler, this is probably the fourth cycle of this when we see this kind of downturn or low. It was probably around that 2017-18 last time. And so we're seeing that again. But man, we are optimistic. We know this thing's going to turn around. We see the ag horizon, like Lance just said on this podcast, being very positive, which is going to be positive for our trucking community. So man, just like I said, hang in there, work with us, man. I think you're going to be rewarded highly for it. So.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the downfalls of technology. I think there's tons of pros love technology, but development doesn't happen overnight. We have a great team of developers on our side, but we are trying to work through this, and we have a lot of ideas. We've had a lot of recent meetings discussing these things, and we have a lot of stuff in the works. But unfortunately, that stuff takes time, and you will see it come to the load board soon.
But I just want to say thank you to all of you all out there that trust us. That give us these ideas and stuff that help us build a better product and solution for you. So we actually welcome them. I think we know this as a team in here, man. You gotta have constructive talk to be better. And I'm all about being better personally. I'm about being better professionally. I think all of you all are as well. And for that, we're pretty excited about everything that's going on. So cool. Well, enough said. Hey, thank you as always for listening to the BulkLoads podcast. Man, if you know someone that can benefit from this, someone that you think might be interesting in our services or the services that Lance and his team at UMB can provide, please share this with them. We would greatly appreciate that. So thank you very much, and God bless.